Hey guys, Matt here. This is my review of the Super Mario Bros. Movie. This movie is directed by Aaron Horvath and Michael Jelenic, who previously directed Teen Titans Go, the movie. This movie stars Chris Pratt, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Jack Black. Now, the plot of this movie is just like the video games this movie is named after. Mario shows up in the Mushroom Kingdom, has to rescue somebody, and stop Bowser. So when the trailer to this movie first came out, I was excited because finally we had gotten a Mario Brothers movie that was in animated form. It was not the 1990s version, which I'll be referencing a little bit in this review, but also now with it being animated and with it being 2023 and all this Mario media that's been out for 40 plus years, they can dive into all of that. They can use all of that, whether it's storyline purposes or Easter eggs. They can use so much of that for this movie. And it was directed by Illumination, the company that directed the Minions movie. So I knew that it was going to be a kid-friendly movie with a bunch of Easter eggs like Wreck-It Ralph. And having seen the movie, we got just that. Now, let me start with the acting in this movie. For the most part, it's fine. And it's not in a negative way, but it's just, you don't go to a movie like this really for the voice acting and the plot. You go for the character of Mario, the world of Mario, and everything that it encompasses. This is the kind of movie where every scene has you paying attention. Every scene has you listening for a cue or a reference or looking for something on screen from the world that is Mario Brothers. Chris Pratt is okay in this role. And when I say that, it's a lot like when he did the Lego Movie, which is another movie I could compare this to, where it's a film that's made to explore the IP, that product, that trademarked, licensed thing, as opposed to trying to come up with something new. They want to show off all their special effects, all their references, everything that makes up Mario, just like the Lego Movie. They want to show all these IPs that the Lego has this umbrella over. They want to show the different Batman. They want to show the different Rocketman. They want to show the different characters in this world that is Lego. Same thing here. So the voice acting really takes a back seat to everything else that's presented to us. Chris Pratt is okay. He doesn't say a whole lot. And when he does, you just believe he's Mario and you're so, engrossed in this world that you hardly notice Chris Pratt. Anya Taylor-Joy as Princess Peach, she was okay. Anya Taylor-Joy, to me, always kind of comes off as if she thinks she's better than whatever she's voicing or in movie-wise, and she just kind of comes off as monotone, like she doesn't want to be there or she shouldn't have to be there. Keegan-Michael Key voices Toad. He was okay. They modulate and change his voice so much that if you didn't know it was him by the credits, you couldn't tell. So really, anybody could have voiced that. Jack Black is the standout as far as the main voice actors go. He plays Bowser exactly how I always imagined him. This ferocious, angry, mean character, but a character that his species of turtle is a young guy who wants all this power. He's not an old, wise guy. He's a young person. Charlie Day as Luigi is perfect. As just the scared... I always thought he was the older brother, but in here they reference he's the younger brother, so it's fine. Charlie Day is perfect as Luigi. The other voice actors are okay. The voice of Donkey Kong, the actor doesn't change their voice at all, so it's kind of like, okay. And then Cranky Kong, another character that he's supposed to play an older version of a Kong monkey, but he just sounds like the younger or the same age brother as Donkey Kong, so it's kind of like, okay. But anyways, his scenes are not very long, so it's can be overlooked. Now, my biggest issue with this movie is that the storyline is the weakest part of the film. Now, again, you're not going to a Super Mario Brothers movie for a deep and complex story. You're not going there for the storyline. You're going for everything that is Mario. And this movie, as far as I could tell, references every single thing that's Mario except for a couple characters that I think will be introduced in the sequel or the franchise going forward if they do it. But this thing referenced the live-action Mario Brothers movie in the sense of how Mario gets to the Mushroom Kingdom and even how Bowser attacks them at the end. But it references the newer games, the older games, and like I said, the things that didn't reference are going to happen later on. Also, when you go into a Mario Brothers movie, the games are linear. The character goes from left to right, there's platforming, there's enemies you evade, there's enemies you jump on, and so forth. But here, it's like Mario is so preoccupied with rescuing the person he needs to rescue and stopping Bowser that's it. There's not a whole lot of character growth in this movie for him. Now, granted, there is an arcing story about how he tries to prove everybody wrong, and he wants to be the hero, because people kind of look down upon him in his real-life world, and they don't think he'll ever really amount to anything. So, that's his arc here, is that he wants to prove everybody wrong, and he wants to be a hero. He wants to prove that he is something and he does matter. And I like that aspect. Now, I will say, for everything this movie does incredibly well, it also does some things that take it down a few notches. For example, the way the characters look, especially Mario, from the rubber on the bottom of his shoes, to the stitching in his hat, to the way hair and fur is depicted in this movie, it looks really good. It's like the animators wanted to make it realistic, but in a cartoonish way, if that makes any sense. They wanted to animate it, but they wanted to make it realistic. So, props to everyone in that department, because the movie looked really good. I'm also glad this movie wasn't 2D, and I'm glad the movie wasn't live action, because we all learned a lesson from the 1990s movie, and it's that the IP, the property, the subject matter, the material, it doesn't translate well when you do live action, because they tried to make it too realistic and futuristic, but here, for kids, in an animated style, it works perfectly. Now, there are things in this movie, in the world, if you will, that work. You know, Mario has his story as a person, he has a lesson he has to learn, but also, there are rules in this universe that don't always apply. And so, again, I know that most people aren't going to the movie looking for stuff like that, but it's like Mario, he learns about the power-ups, okay? In the games, if you get hit more than twice, you die. In the world, Mario never dies. And until the end of the movie, aside from a black eye and a couple cuts on his face, Mario doesn't take any damage. Ever. Now, again, I know it's a kid's movie, but you have to be realistic. If things can die and crash and blow up and explode, Mario should be able to die, right? Now, I know that's dark, and I know it's a kid's movie, but still, some things in this movie and the universe matter. Others, you're kind of like, wait, what happened to this? What about that story, that plot? And it's things like that that make this movie not get a perfect grade, because they try to make some things realistic and logical, and then others they completely forget about or gloss over. Another example of questionable decisions in this movie is Bowser's motivation for doing what he does. The movie starts out with Bowser. You think he's this menacing, scary threat, and he is to the people in that world. But his motivation and reason for doing what he does isn't really explained. In the games, the classic ones at least, his storyline was he kidnapped Princess Peach, Mario had to go rescue her, that was it. Here, Bowser does kidnap somebody, but it's like in Spaceballs, where the bad guy, while facing the good guy, is this scary, menacing, evil, total monster. But then behind the scenes, he's a different breed of character. And that's what you see in this movie. Behind the scenes, Bowser isn't always just, okay, let's go take over this place and this place. Like, he's not methodical, he's not totally evil. He has I'll just say, sensitive side. And that sensitive side leads to what's going to be an iconic song from this movie. It's a little silly, but when you cast Jack Black into a movie, just like Jennifer Hudson and others, you only really cast them for their musical and singing abilities. And Jack Black is really good as this role of Bowser, but here he sings a song called Peaches that, well, let's just say it's going to be remembered for a long time. It's a little silly, a little overrated, but it works in the movie and it's Jack Black, so what are you going to do? So because this movie references everything that's Mario Brothers, and except for the stuff that doesn't, but I think it will soon, but the storyline isn't the greatest, but this is a celebration of Mario. This is for the hardcore Mario Brothers fans, but also it's a movie directed at kids because it's just silly enough and comical and colorful and lighthearted enough for kids. Now, there are a couple song choices that are questionable. Like, I get it, they're from the 80s, but 80s rock, and then in some scenes you have the classic Mario Brothers music. It's a little weird. So, because this movie was a mixed bag for me, it was a nice celebration of Mario, and just like Wreck-It Ralph, they tried to cram in all these IPs, all these products, all these characters, elements, events, and bad guys from stuff you know that you're like, oh, yeah, look at that. Oh, did you see the thing in the background? Did you see the console Mario was playing? Stuff like that. This movie is fun. So because of that, I'm going to give the Super Mario Brothers movie a B+. So until next time, guys, see ya.